What do Colonel Sanders, Ray Kroc, and Martha Stewart have in common with me and you? Michael McLean, Doc Coach. I am a ex-professional hockey coach turned 8-figure entrepreneur. I shoot these ugly, broken iPhone walking videos every day. I talk about the cold, hard truth about money, marketing, happiness, mental toughness, you name it, in your email box every morning at 6 a.m. I don't take any days off. If you'd like to subscribe for free, michaelmclean.coach. So what do the great badass billionaires, Martha Stewart, Ray Kroc, and Colonel Sanders have in common with you and me? Well, what they have in common is what my dad said the other night on the phone. My 90-year young father, who worked from age 15 to almost age 86. My dad will be 91 years old later this year. His only regret, by the way, retiring at age 85 after a almost 71-year working career. Think about that. Started working on the trucks, driving a truck at age 15, finally retiring from the insurance business 71 years later at age 85, almost age 86. And his only regret to this day, he told me this last summer, was retiring at age 85. So what we have in common with Colonel Sanders, with Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's, Martha Stewart Living, all billionaires, is something that my dad says all the time. My dad says that 50 is the new 30. He says that 65 is the new 50. And he says that 75-80 is the new 65. He's constantly talking about how if you live it life right, if you do it right, if you know what you're doing, it's never, ever, ever too late to try something new. It's never, ever, ever, ever too late to change. And it's never, ever too late to get started, especially with something that you have passion, obsession for. Maybe it's a new hobby, maybe it's a new company, maybe it's a new idea, maybe it's an invention, maybe it's a new skill that you want to acquire. I was talking to my father the other night on the phone, and he reminded me about my mom's good friend who is 92 years young. She's 92 years young, and she lost her husband to cancer at the age of 62. And at the age of 62, after she lost her husband to cancer, it was a devastating blow to her and her 3 adult children. She started doing something very unique. She took up playing the piano. At age 62, she took up playing the piano and taking weekly lessons. Think about that. Most people at age 62, they're not going to be taking up anything new. They're shutting it down. So this woman started taking weekly lessons, and she also started playing every single day. And it was interesting. The interesting part of the story is that in the beginning, when she started playing, her children were like, well, this is her way of coping. This is her way of staying busy. This is her way of mourning the loss of her husband. But after it went on for about a year, the adult kids were actually concerned. They were like, oh, she's hiding in this, and who takes up piano at age 62, and you know, the whole deal that you're always going to get from the normies. Who do you think you are? What are you doing? Just you know, relax, take it easy. You don't have to be doing anything special, that kind of stuff. So it's interesting, my mom's friend is now 92, and she has played the piano for over 30 years. That is more time than most professional piano players, most concert pianists. The other thing too is, in this time of playing the piano for 30 plus years, since age 62, taking lessons all that time, and taking up a new hobby or a new skill like this in her 60s, is she taught herself all the greats. Mozart, Beethoven, Bach, all of them. And when most people, my mom said, when most people hear her play in her 90s now, they think that she was a concert pianist who was trained at a young age. In other words, the younger you start a skill, the better you become at it. So most people assume incorrectly that she was playing the piano at age 4, age 5, age 6. And they have no idea, this is her skill level, that she didn't begin playing a single note until age 62. So it's a prime example. It's a prime example of what's possible, whether you're 45, whether you're 55, whether you're 75, whether you're 85, that it's such bullshit that we can't start something new, or we can't change a behavior or a habit after the age of 50 or after the age of 60. Colonel Sanders opened his very first Kentucky Fried Chicken, #1, okay, after decades and decades and decades of personal humiliation, personal failure, personal frustration. At age 62, he finally opens his very first Kentucky Fried Chicken, age 62. And he actually didn't become a millionaire. Colonel Sanders didn't become a millionaire until he was, I believe, 73, doesn't matter, in his 70s. How many people would have been grinding it out, stayed hungry, stayed on task for decades and decades, traveling the country, trying to pitch his franchising idea, trying to pitch his Kentucky chicken recipe? How many people would have put up with thousands and thousands of no's? Only the great Colonel Sanders. Age 62 was his starting date for that $1 million, now $1 billion franchise. You talk about the Ray Kroc, who franchised the McDonald's brothers company. He started, that guy started at age 52. He was a guy who ate at the McDonald's brothers restaurant, and he was all about franchising it. But he was another guy who lived on the road, lived out of a suitcase, traveled the country, who never, ever, ever gave up on his dream. He was determined to run his own show, to run his own operation, and to franchise it. His dream was to create the biggest fast food chain restaurant in America. And he was able to create the largest fast food chain in the world. But Ray Kroc started at age 52. That son of a bitch wouldn't stop. He just would not stop. He would not take no for an answer. And his starting date was age 52 years young. Martha Stewart is another badass cleaner. I mean, she is relentless, balls to the wall. But most people think that Martha Stewart, you know, was she's this media titan. She finally, after renovating her home, after being a stay-at-home mom, all that stuff, she launched the magazine for the first time, Martha Stewart Living, at age 50. At age 50, nobody knew who the hell Martha Stewart was. But at age 50, she had the brass balls to say, I'm going to launch a magazine. People had never, ever talked about what she was going to talk about. Life inside the home, cooking, baking, Martha Stewart Living. It was only a handful of years later that she was a national celebrity, household name. She went to prison for tax evasion. But talk about brass balls. I mean, she absolutely refused to let age be an excuse. And that's all that age is. It's an excuse, right? If you've got a dream, or you've got a goal, or you've got a mission, or you have something, a burning desire inside you to do something special, and you're 45 or 65 or 75, and you're telling yourself that it's too late and you don't have time, that's called burying yourself in BS. That's called burying yourself in BS. It means that you're self-projecting, you've got limiting beliefs, self-imposed limiting beliefs that you're too old, it's too late. As my grandfather used to say, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's called burying yourself in BS. And these are just 3 of hundreds, if not thousands, of examples of people who just got started in their 50s. I'm not talking about success. I'm talking about Colonel Sanders just got started at 62. Ray Kroc just got started at 52. Martha Stewart just got started at 50. Think about professional and college sports. Think about a guy like Nick Saban. Saban retiring earlier this year. The guy is like 72 years young. I mean, he's working 16, 18 hours a day. He's got one of the top programs in the entire country, works 12 months a year, recruiting, you know, one of the hardest, most demanding jobs on planet Earth. And the guy was dominating in his 70s. Same thing with, remember Marv Levy, the Buffalo Bills coach that lost 4 straight Super Bowls. And I mean, the guy was in his 70s. Marv Levy, when he retired from head coach in the NFL, was 72. Same as Pete Carroll now. Pete Carroll may or may not, I'm not sure if he'll ever coach again, but it doesn't really matter because Pete Carroll is the youngest 72-year-old coach you could ever imagine. There's a guy who was doing it at the highest level this year, up until this year, at age 72. And then, of course, you have our boy, Bill Belichick. There's a guy who's been coaching since he was a graduate assistant in college. And Belichick's, 70, 71, now that he's no longer in the NFL for the first time. I mean, people, it's in every area of life. Like Picasso. Picasso didn't have any notoriety. He didn't make any money. Nobody knew who the hell he was until he was in his 50s. Even Charles Darwin, his theory of evolution, they didn't know who he was. He was irrelevant and invisible, Charles Darwin, until he actually authored his book in his 50s. Are you writing a book? Are you too old to write your first book? Are you too old to write a new book? Are you too old to take up a hobby? Are you too old to get in the best physical shape of your life? Are you too old to learn how to paint or play the piano? Like tell me, what the hell are you too old for? Do you know that Henry Ford, he just was grinding and grinding and grinding. Everybody thought he was insane. His family, his actual children, wanted to commit him to a insane asylum just before the Model T hit the market at age 50. Like Ford was grinding at age 50 in obscurity. The same as Colonel Sanders, the same as Ray Kroc, the same as the list, there's just hundreds and hundreds of people on these lists. I was filling up my truck with gas the other day here in Naples, and who did I see across but Judge Judy? She has a home here, a vacation home, Judge Judy, here in Southwest Florida. So she's putting fuel in her SUV, and it reminded me, Judge Judy's absolute first TV show that started to make her famous as a celebrity, age 54. Judge Judy's first television appearance was at age 54. Can you imagine? Like, what the hell can't you do if you've got your health, if you know how to do it right? What the hell can't you challenge yourself to take on when you're 50, when you're 60, when you're 70, when you're 80, when you're my dad saying last summer that he should have kept working at the highest level when he was 85. He walked away into the sunset on his own terms. He had an executive position with my old insurance agency, but he let the people, the doubters in his life, he let the people who were like, come on, Frank, you're 80, 85, you're 20 years past when you should be retired. And he let those people influence him, and he retired. And he says it's his only professional regret. Think about that. A man who's been on the planet for almost 91 years, and the only professional regret he has is that he stepped away at age 85. He had his health. He had the support of his wife. He had the support of his family. He didn't need to retire. But it's just a message. Like, I'm so fascinated, especially in 2024, when everything is like, you gotta make it by the time you're 25. You gotta make it by the time you're 30. Your 20s, you've gotta make it. And like when I was growing up, 20s are your learning years. That's when you're single, you don't have children, you're not married yet in most cases. Those are the years where it doesn't really matter how much money you're making. They're not the earning years. Your 20s are your learning years. Those are your learning years. When I was in the hockey business, I was working for next to nothing, but those were my learning years. My learning years were, working with people like Wayne Maxner and working for other people. And it was all about just learning. Didn't matter. All I had was enough money and a roof over my head, an apartment. But my 20s and even into my 30s were learning years. I didn't care about earning. I wanted the experience. I wanted the knowledge. I wanted the wisdom. Same thing with these people that start their entrepreneurial dreams when they're 50 years old, when they're 62 years old. It's just amazing to me how these people just continue to be relentless, and that age literally is a number. Like, it's literally a number. I'm just thinking last year, a great reminder was the World Series when Bruce Bochy, the Texas Rangers manager, he outmanaged everybody on the way for the Texas Rangers' first World Series. But it was so funny because they had all these analytical people, right? They had all these Wall Street wizards, and every baseball team has them though, right? Analytics rule the game. So they bring in a guy like Bruce after 3 or 4 years of him sitting at home and nobody wanting to employ him. And he outmanages Golden Gut everybody at the age of 68. Like, he literally was a difference maker in the American League division final. He was a difference maker with his players, and he's like, you know, analytics is a tool. It's like AI, it's a tool. If it can help you, use it, but it's not something that's to be taken over heart, soul, your golden gut, your intuition. And that's a guy that managed his team, dealing with human beings, dealing with elite athletes, and he used his golden gut to win a World Series at age 68. I mean, I could go on and on. I'm used to being around a person like my dad or a person like my mom who, you know, transitions from their 60s. Then they're in their 70s and they're still behaving and acting like a person in their 40s. Then my mom and dad went into their 70s, and I'm like, my dad's still working every day. My mom's still working every day. Then they get to their 80s, and all the common folk and the normies around them, like, when are you going to retire? When are you going to slow down? When are you going to travel? And they just continue to behave like they're in their 40s and 50s. And now my mom and dad, at the glorious age of 90 years plus, you know, still have that mentality of what's next? What's next? And I just think that this is an important message, especially in today's instant gratification environment, the world we live in, you know, on anti-social media. Everybody's life is better than yours. Everybody's car is nicer than yours. Everybody's house is bigger than yours. Everybody's vacation is better than yours. And we're constantly comparing ourselves to each other instead of running our own race. Colonel Sanders ran his own race. Ray Kroc at age 52 ran his own race. Martha Stewart runs her own race. The founder, Henry Ford, ran his own race. You know, Bruce Bochy runs his own race. You know, Marv Levy runs his own race. Bill Belichick, just go on and on. Nick Saban, they run their own race. They stay in their lane, and they defeat Father Time for as long as they can. And for them to retire is to expire. That's what Trump's old man used to say. To retire is to expire. And for an entrepreneur, you're not a normie. You're not a bureaucrat. You're not a union worker. You're not somebody who's going to have a pension, or you want to, you know, sit in Florida in a trailer park, or you want to stop doing things. You love what you do. You have more dreams, more goals, more missions, like I do. So for us, we're a different cat. We're a different breed. And retirement, or at least full retirement, doesn't apply to most of us. And we just keep dreaming and dreaming. So I don't care what age you are, whether you're 45 or 55 or 65 or 75 or 85. Answer the question, what the fuck is next? What is next? I started playing pickleball this year. I didn't even know what pickleball was until we moved here 3 years ago. I started going to the gym and lifting for the first time in 25 years at age 55. Do you know I didn't start reading a book? I never read a book until I had graduated from university at age 25. I had never read a whole book. I just found a way to get through school, and all of a sudden I became a serious reader at age 25. Nobody can believe that. They're like, are you kidding me? Like, what were you doing? And I didn't write my first book. I didn't write my first insurance book until I was in my 40s. I didn't write my second book. The link is below. How to Not Get Your Ass Kicked in Business and Life. I didn't write that book until I was in my 50s. I didn't start studying copywriting until I was in my late 40s. I didn't start, all of these things that I've taken on that are so important to me now, And I didn't start any of them until I was in my 40s and 50s. So, cut the horse shit and cut the limiting self-beliefs and all these limiting beliefs that, oh, I don't have time, I'm too old, nobody does that. You're not anybody else. That's normie talk. That's mediocre talk. That's talk of somebody who's just, playing not to lose. Get up every day and play offense. Get up every day and chase down that next victory. And keep asking yourself, what the hell is next? It could be a hobby, it could be a skill, it could be a side business. You could maybe want to start studying something. Maybe I don't care what it is. But take my dad's advice when it comes to, you know what? 75 is the new 50. And yes, you do have time. Yes, you do have the resources. Yes, this is the greatest time to ever be alive. Take advantage of it. And all this stuff, when you're growing and you're contributing and you're chasing things, it makes you a better husband. It makes you a better father. It makes you a better grandfather. It makes you a better community person. You're serving more people. Like, there's nothing worse than, and my grandfather used to say it all the time. He says, people don't grow old, Michael. He was a guy that worked in the general store till he was almost 70, 7 days a week. People don't grow old. They stop growing and they become old. That's a writer downer. People don't grow old. People stop growing and they become old. That's all I got for you today. Keep Colonel Sanders and Martha Stewart and Nick Saban and Ray Kroc and all of these people. It's just the co-founder of Home Depot started in his 50s. Sam Walton started in his, I think, late 50s. Walmart founder Sam Walton started in his late 50s or early 60s. I mean, to these guys, age is a number, right? You don't grow old, you stop growing, you become old. So I'm starting up a simple mastermind for small business owners, entrepreneurs, 2 live events a year. It's 12 months at a time. It's $9.97 per month. We meet online once a month. But really, it's about me being your CMO, your part-time CMO. If you're struggling with your marketing or your systems or your profitability or your hiring or your employees, any of that stuff, team building, put me on the payroll as your CMO, your Chief Marketing Officer. That's what I am. In all my businesses, I was always the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer. This is a way for me to be in your life for the next 12 months as your CMO. In other words, you can speak to me about your marketing, what's working, what's not working, your hiring practices, your systems, whatever you want. But what a way for $9.97 a month to surround yourself with other entrepreneurs who are winners, other entrepreneurs who are dreamers, and put me on the payroll for $9.97 a month as your CMO. Because that's what I'm good at. That's basically in business the big thing that's my thing. That's my God-given ability, and that's the area of expertise that I've studied the most. Chief Marketing Officer. So, there's nothing more powerful than the mastermind concept. There's a link below if you would like to apply. If you'd like to apply, you can email Marc Andre, my business partner, mark@badassmillionaire.com. His email is below, and he'll send you some details. And if it's your cup of whiskey, that's great. If it's not your cup of Earl Grey, that's great as well. I just want to offer an affordable mastermind for my small business owners, my entrepreneurs in 2024, and this is it. Put me on your payroll as your part-time fractional CMO. That's it. 2 words that changed my life, 2 words that can change your life. Be relentless.